Hello and welcome into this week's edition of The Pole Position right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Pole Position, we've got a few things to talk about from this weekend. ARCA, of course, was in Toledo. We obviously gave you extensive coverage of that. Trucks and Cup were in Charlotte for All-Star Weekend. NHRA was in action from Virginia, and World of Outlaws had 3 races this past week. They raced on Wednesday at Abbottstown, Pennsylvania, and then 2 races on Friday and Saturday from Williams Grove. No road racing, no open wheel this weekend, but we do have some oval, straight line, and dirt track stuff for you. So let's get right into it. Of course, we'll start with the ARCA stuff, as that has been covered already in rewind shows and everything else, so we'll get that out of the way here before moving on to everything else that has not been covered extensively already this weekend. So, of course, ARCA had the Sioux Chief Power Pex 200 this weekend. Supposed to be 200 laps. We only went 152 because of rain around Toledo Speedway in Toledo, Ohio. Chandler Smith taking the victory in this one, his first of the season, third career ARCA victory for the 16-year-old in that number 20 Craftsman Toyota 4 Venturini Motorsports. Following him across the line under caution for the rain was Ty Gibbs. Ty had a very good long-run car in this race and probably would have given Chandler a good run for his money had we been able to play the race out to the full scheduled distance. Unfortunately, that did not happen. A win is coming for Ty Gibbs eventually, though. That kid's got way too much talent. It will happen eventually. Christian Eckes came home with a strong third-place finish. Michael Self regains the points lead this week as he finishes in 4th. Coupled with Travis Braden's misfortunes of wrecking in the mid-portion of the race and finishing 13th. And Sam Mayer rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Carson Hocevar, Brett Holmes, Tanner Gray, Tommy Vi Jr., and Corey Heim. All right, now on to the NASCAR stuff from this past weekend. Truck Series in action on Friday night. They ran the North Carolina Education Lottery 200. 134 laps, 201 miles around the 1.5 miles Charlotte Motor Speedway, Concord, North Carolina. Kyle Busch, 5 for 5 this season in the Truck Series. He's only allowed to run 5 races under current rules in the Truck Series, and he won every single one of them he ran this year. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like Kyle Busch running in the trucks. Admittedly, it does kind of make the race a little boring. But you've got to respect that 5 races and he won all 5 of them. I don't care how talented you are, the odds of that happening, even if you are so OP compared to the rest of the field, the odds of that actually happening, for everything going your way to be able to finish out every race, not have mechanical issues, not get caught up in a wreck, and be able to close out every single one of those 5 races, that deserves some respect. But for those of you that are tired of seeing Kyle Busch dominating every week that he's in the trucks, you're in luck, because he can't run anymore this season. So we will not see Kyle Busch back in a truck for the rest of the 2019 season. So I know there's a lot of people happy about that, but I'm sure for the most part it probably will make a lot of the races a little more exciting. At least the racing for the lead, it'll make it a little more exciting. Kyle led 102 laps on the way to the victory in this one. Only 32 laps he did not lead in this one. Brennan Poole came home with a very strong second-place finish in this race. Stuart Friesen in 3rd, Ben Rhodes 4th, Matt Crafton rounds out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Austin Hill, Todd Gilliland, Anthony Alfredo, Grant Infinger, and Ross Chastain. All right, so that brings us to the final race from Charlotte this weekend. It was the Monster Energy All-Star Race. 4 segments in this one, 85 total laps. Actually went a bit of overtime in this race. I believe that was end of stage 1, I think, was when we had the overtime, which I didn't really understand, to be honest. I don't know why we need overtime to finish stages in the All-Star Race. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. But, you know, NASCAR is going to do what NASCAR is going to do. 127.5 miles total around the 1.5 mile Charlotte Motor Speedway. Kyle Larson outdueled everyone and took the victory in this one, beating out the hashtag millennial car of Kevin Harvick, who came home in the second position. Harvick, I think, definitely had the strongest car in this race and probably should have won, and then ended up with a loose wheel late in the race and never could quite battle his way back from that back to the lead. He got close, made it up to second at the end of the race, but couldn't quite get there to challenge Kyle Larson for the win. I personally was really wanting Harvick to win this race because I want a raced version of the millennial car, and unfortunately I don't think we're going to get that now since he didn't win, but I was really wanting a raced version of that. Kyle Busch came home in the third position, Joey Logano fourth. Bubba Wallace, who raced his way in an exciting win in Stage 2 of the Open, manages himself a top 5 finish in fifth. Kudos to Bubba Wallace and Richard Petty Motorsports. A lot of rumors surrounding that team over the past week or so, and it's good to see them finally get a good performance, even if it's not in a points race. Rest of your top 10, Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, Alex Bowman, William Byron, and Martin Truex Jr. rounded out your top 10. All right, so that does it for the oval stuff for the week. We just have 2 series left to cover now, and we'll move on to the straight line stuff now. It was the NHRA. They had the Virginia NHRA Nationals this weekend from Virginia Motorsports Park in Dinwiddie, Virginia. Top fuel winner would be Steve Torrence. Ron Capps picks up the funny car win. Bo Butner is your winner in Pro Stock. And a class down here I don't believe we've seen this year. I don't remember seeing it. It's the Factory Stock Showdown. And Drew Skillman took the victory in that class. And we've got all the winners here listed, of course, as we usually do for the NHRA stuff. So if there's any of these classes that you are interested in, your winners are here up on the screen right now. All right, so that moves us on to the final stuff from the weekend. It is the dirt track stuff for the World of Outlaws and NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars. First action of the week for them actually happened on Wednesday this week. It was the Gettysburg Clash presented by Dryden from Lincoln Speedway in Abbottstown, Pennsylvania. Lance DeWeese takes the victory, part of the Pennsylvania posse taking the victory in the 69K there over Ryan Smith and David Gravel, also finishing on the podium. Brad Sweet picking up a 4th place finish, and Shane Stewart also in the top 10, top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Lucas Wolf, Ian Madsen, Jacob Allen, Logan Schuchert, and Craig Kinzer picks up a top 10 from Abbottstown. All right, so then we move on to the weekend. 2 races from Williams Grove this weekend for the Morgan Cup from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. In Friday's action for the Morgan Cup, David Gravel takes the victory, outdueling Danny Dietrich and Darren Pittman. Pittman took the lead early, and Gravel had fallen all the way back to 3rd, but Gravel ends up making his way back to the lead by the end of the race in what turned out to be a pretty exciting 25-lap feature. Shane Stewart came home in 4th, and Tim Schaefer rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10 were Lance DeWeese, Giovanni Celsi, Donnie Schatz, Brad Sweet, and Chad Trout rounded out your top 10 from Friday's action in Williams Grove. And that moves us on to Saturday's action from Williams Grove, also part of the Morgan Cup, and Lance DeWeese picks up his 2nd win of the week. He picked up, obviously, the win from Lincoln Speedway on Wednesday, and he wins on Saturday night from Williams Grove, outdueling Donnie Schatz and Danny Dietrich also on the podium. Darren Pittman in 4th, and Freddie Raymer rounded out the top 5. Rest of your top 10, Craig Kinzer, Giovanni Celsi, Brent Marks, David Gravel, and Jacob Allen rounded out your top 10. And that'll do it. That's all we got for you from this past weekend. Of course, this next weekend, really probably the biggest weekend in motorsports all season, as we've got 3 very marquee races happening. Of course, the Coca-Cola 600 for the NASCAR Cup Series, the Indianapolis 500 for the NTT IndyCar Series, and the Grand Prix of Monaco for Formula One. So it is a big weekend, Memorial Day weekend. We'll have all that covered for you next week on Pole Position, hopefully at the correct time. I know this is going out a lot later than Pole Position is supposed to, and I do apologize for that. It's been a very hectic past 24 hours or so trying to get all these interviews lined up and done from Toledo, since we weren't able to do them from the track because of the rain. So it's been a pretty hectic past 24 hours, and then getting back into the swing of things at home, back into the day job, that kind of thing. So it's been a crazy past 24 hours or so, and then we got to go back and do it again on Thursday from Charlotte. So it's just a crazy week this week. But yes, we will be in Charlotte on Thursday with ARCA. Only Thursday, unfortunately. We won't be able to stay for Saturday and Sunday for Xfinity and Cup, but we will be there on Thursday giving you the ARCA action from Charlotte. So if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. So with that, this has been the pole position, where you always start on the front row. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.